You caught me here? The last day of NLP video, you catch me cleaning the shower in my office? I mean, don't you think we could have done this? I mean, this is Boca Raton. They call it Florida's Gold Coast. We could have been at the beach. We could have been in front of some resort. But I'm cleaning the shower? Okay, so it wasn't an accident. There's a reason that I'm cleaning the shower, and that's because today's the last day and it's cleanup day. And at the end of a 30-day period of communications excellence, of learning the basics of NLP to give you a greater understanding of NLP, there's one thing that you have to do. You have to clean up yourself. Okay? You have to clean up your own communication. It's impossible to work with others and to help them achieve their fullest potentials as human beings unless you clean up yourself first. Now, we talked about much earlier on the concept that Dave Dobson, my teacher, used to talk about, called the three-legged stool. The three-legged stool is how you determine which your strongest strengths are. Are you primarily visual, auditory, or kinesthetic? And most people have at least one system that's longer than the other. So what Dr. Dobson used to teach was a concept that was referred to as eyeball volleyball. When someone asks you a question, you want to be balanced in all three systems. You want to clean up your act. So if someone asks you a question, look at it visually. Pick your eyes up and look up and picture your answer. Move your eyes to the side and listen to what your insides are saying. Move your eyes down and get in touch with your feelings on it. And in that way you can balance your three-legged stool. What else do you have to clean up in your life? What kind of personal changes need to be made? Are there issues that have been troubling you that need working on? It's cleanup time. Clean up your act. If you want to be able to persuade others with integrity, if you want to be able to reach out, touch people, tell them a metaphor, it all starts with working on yourself. When you work on yourself, when you balance yourself, then and only then will you have the ability to affect others, not just one at a time, but many at a time. I want to close with a story. It's one of my favorite stories. It's about a psychiatrist who was working in an office, and he got a phone call one day that said, "Doc, do you have any openings today? It's an emergency." And he said, "Well, I have a 4 o'clock. What's the emergency?" And they said, "Oh, Doc, you'll find out." So 10 minutes to 4, he looks out in front of his office. A limousine pulls up. 4 big burly men get out. They go into the back seat and they pull out a guy who's got to be in his 20s. And they basically carry him, drag him into the office. They come in, they go, "Okay, Doc, where do we put him?" And the doc says, "I have a couch in my office, but what's going on?" "Don't worry, Doc," they say, "you'll find out." So when they go put him on the couch and they leave, they say, "We'll be back in an hour." The doctor comes in and asks the patient, "What's going on? What's your problem?" And the patient says, "My problem? I don't have a problem in the world. They're the ones who have the problem." So the doctor says, "Okay, what's their problem?" And the man says, "Their problem is they refuse to admit that I'm dead and that I'm only a corpse." So the doctor says, "Well, if you're dead and you're only a corpse, how are you talking to me?" And the man says, "Come on, doctor. Isn't it obvious that it's not me that's talking, it's my spirit talking?" Well, that begins nearly an hour of back and forth conversation. And for each argument that the doctor advanced, the patient had an answer. Until finally the doctor says, as they're nearing the end of the hour, "Look, next door is a cardiologist. What if I go get his EKG machine and I hook you up? And we'll see if you have a heartbeat. Because if you have a heartbeat, we know you're alive." And the patient says, "You know, Doc, that's a really good idea. The problem is, I don't know those machines. You do." It could be your own heartbeat that's showing up. You'll have to do better than that. The doctor hears outside the car pulling up, the men coming into his office, and then he gets an idea. It's absolutely genius. What does he do? He says, I'm going to go get a pin, and I'm going to stick it into your finger, and we're going to see if blood comes out, because we know corpses don't bleed. So the doctor goes and gets a pin, he sterilizes it, and the patient says, what are you sterilizing it for? I'm a corpse. He said, I'm just, taking precautions, I'm a doctor. And the patient is like all excited. He goes, finally, here's proof. And he sticks out his finger. The doctor takes the pin, sticks it in the finger, pulls out the pin, and nothing happens. And the patient starts beaming with joy. And then the doctor takes his fingers, squeezes the finger, and a big red drop of blood starts to form. And it's getting bigger and bigger. And the patient looks at it and goes, oh my gosh, I guess corpses do bleed. Inside most people, there are one of these beliefs that corpses do bleed. And if you know NLP really well, you can help them overcome their limitations and live a more fulfilling life. But first, you gotta clean up yourself. This is Harlan Kilstein for NLP Copywriting. Thanks for joining me. We'll be back with more videos.